Hi everyone, this is Chris, also Prince Gastronome. I made a couple videos about unboxing some Kickstarter knives, and they actually became quite popular, so I'm going to try this again. I have one more knife on the way. This is probably going to be my last one for quite some time because these knives aren't cheap and I'm kind of reaching the limit of my collection. I'll show you some of my star players. I have quite a few knives, but don't want to go too far into them. I got a couple of knives right here. Some of these are actually Kickstarter knives, while others are not. So we'll see the two kind of star players. My Damascus style Bob Kramer by Zwellings is Damascus style. Actual Damascus doesn't actually exist. So that's that one. Very, very sharp knife. It's one of my more popular knives. My collection. This is technically a Sentoku, by the way. That's why it's got that kind of truncated front, stubby nose. This is actually brand new, even though it's already stained because it's carbon steel. This is another Bob Kramer by Zwellings, but this is the carbon steel knife. I got this just a while ago. It was on sale. Yeah, my girlfriend's reacting to that one. Let's try one more time. That is probably the sharpest knife that I have in my collection. I'll probably even do a push cut. Yeah, that is clearly the sharpest knife in my collection. I don't think the Zwellings, the Bob Kramer will do it. Nope. I cannot do a proper push cut. That also needs to be sharpened a little bit. Then we get to these two Kickstarter knives from the previous year. The Knasa by Habitat and the Bulat. Now, in previous video, I stated that the Bulat is probably the dullest of them. It didn't come very sharp in my opinion. And I haven't used it since then, so it still requires a bit of sharpening. It's not a bad knife, but I find it's a little clumsy. The Bulat, which is I think is Canadian, if I remember correctly, is a fantastic knife. It also needs to be sharpened. It's actually definitely, but it actually gets a lot of use out of mine, so it probably just needs to be sharpened. But it actually came out of the box nice. It's also what I think is one of the prettiest knives, from handle to guard and so forth. This was another small one. This was another one here. I can't remember the name of this company. This is a Kickstarter knife. I only backed the paring knife because I just wanted to see how it looked. It's actually not bad. It's not bad. It's got some edge to it, but I've also used this a lot as my steak knife, so it ends up getting a lot of use. But that's not the reason why we're here. The reason why we're here is because of these guys. Edge of Belgravia. This is a company that went on Kickstarter. They really got very popular. These are put together in China. Blades are manufactured in Japan. And then the company is out of London. And this guy, they finally delivered. This is probably my biggest order. I have one other knife coming, but it will not be this big. And I actually forgot that I had gotten all these things. I think some of these went a bit over my budget. But this is probably my big last hurrah when it comes to Kickstarter. So we're going to take a look at here. I'm going to start off with small, we'll lead up to here. I'll probably do the large chef knife last. This is actually what I'm looking forward to the most, oddly enough. I'm going to open up here. I'm going to use this one. Just show you how much use I've gotten out of Bulat. It needs to be sharpened. That and the Habitat quite badly. The carbon steel really spoiled me. So I actually have a sharpening rod from Bulat, which I could use. And that's just right here. That's a sharpening that Bulat also brought. So this is their sharpening. It is nothing like the one from Bulat. It's more traditional. There we go. Traditional pull cut through. You have a coarse and a fine one. That's kind of cool. We'll see how that one does. Yeah, that's kind of neat. This is a diamond ring. This is a diamond sharpening rod. Also, it's made in London, assembled and finished in China. So that was kind of cool. Now I already have a diamond rod. This one is definitely cool though. Look at that. That is you can't really feel it, but it has got an amazingly, almost like a sandpaper-like texture. You can almost see the glinting. You get the sparkles off that. Look at that. Very nice. Now that's comparison to my normal sharpening rod right here. Very simple, very common, right? You get your blade like that. Now compare that to something like this one. Wow, that feels, as my girlfriend winces. But that feels so interesting in comparison. take that off there and see that. Oh, actually, I think I may actually made that better. That's actually fascinating. That's an amazing steel. I like that. I love the texture on that puppy. That's my girlfriend wins again. I'm gonna put that back in the package for now. That's a very nice purchase. I don't remember even getting this thing. That was a surprise. I knew about everything else. I did not know about that one. This, I'm looking forward to. The steak knife set, because my steak knives are very poor. This has been our steak knives. And if you ever know anyone talking about steak knives, these are probably horrible steak knives. They have serrated edges, which is really bad for steak. They're good, they're classic, they're plastic, they're cheap, they're nothing. This is what I've been looking forward to. Good set of steak knives. The mood is tense, I can tell.
So knives I will actually use.
Yeah, this is the first time we're actually seeing the actual knife. We've been seeing this, it's all been foreplay until now. There they are. Full steel handles. Very indicative, I might add. If you ever know anything about global knives also have the pure steel edge to edge, right? This one does not have a handle. Ooh, that's nice and smooth. But that's how global is. This global, by the way, love global. Love the knife. Love the feel of that knife. This is their steak knives. Right? Balanced about halfway through. Good feel. All right. There's that edge. So as you can see the stamping, but very similar to the Bob Kramer, that kind of Damascus imitation, or even to the Bulat, although the Bulat has a slightly different pattern, but very similar to what we see with the Bob Kramer. 4 steak knives for 4 guests. Let's see how that one does before we move up to the larger steak knife. Now, that's pretty good. Let's see if it does a push cut. Nope. It's a bit rough. I would say it was probably as sharp as the Bob Kramer is at this point, but the Bob Kramer was sharper at the beginning. So this is definitely good. It's a hell of a lot better than what you get for a normal steak knife. So this is kind of my new standard steak knife. This is going to be really nice going forward. And we got 4 of these bad boys in this thing. That's nice. That is nice. I feel it. Got nice, good texture. Do you like it? Like it? Yeah. So let's see how that measures up to it. Put that back to the steak knife. Okay, so here we go. Kuroi Hana, that's the actual knife brand. The black flower Japanese steel by Edge of Belgravia. Get that off of there. We can actually see the stamp of Edge of Belgravia on the company, on the label there. Once again, the texture is very similar to the Bob Kramer. It doesn't feel smooth, like when you put your fingers across the carbon steel. Carbon steel is just like slick. This is not. This has got a very, almost like Kroikus cloth or really fine sandpaper. You compare that to the weight of the Bulat, for example. This one has a good balancing point. Look at that. That's nice. That's actually better than most because it feels very balanced. Compare that to the Bulat, it falls forward a little bit at that halfway point. But the Bulat has a much lighter handle. This one has actually, I think the overall weight is about the same. I think the Bulat just edges it out. You compare that to the Habitat. Habitat's lighter. You compare that to the big, nice Bob Kramer. The Kramer is also heavier, but that's also mostly from the handle. I bet you these are probably hollow. Feels about hollow. Probably exactly the same as Global. That's a good balancing point. That's nice. Feels very confident in the hand. Let's get a new piece of paper here. Let's see how this one does. Okay, so that was a good start. Let's do a push cut. Oh. So it has problems with the direct push cut. Let's try one more section. There we go. It has a little problem. Getting past it. Now, obviously, it will do the saw cut quite nicely. It really has. It takes that nice edge. Very smooth. Doesn't require a lot of effort. The moment you put a little edge to it and you saw even slightly, it cuts very smooth. So it's probably right up there just after the Bob Kramer as well. Let's get it near the front this time and see how that works. Oh yeah, so the edges are definitely stronger near the front. Yeah, that's way better edge. You're going to see obviously why I wanted to get this knife. And I mean, I've said before that the Habitat I think was the weakest blade. I like the idea, but I think it's mostly gimmick. I like Bulat because it was one of the earlier Kickstarter knives. I think they were Canadian, if I remember correctly. I like the design, very beautiful. This, of course, was a free knife, as I mentioned. I did not pay for that one. This one I did pay for because I wanted to own a carbon steel. I'm not one of those guys that love walnut or like oak birch handles and so forth. I really like this confident, kind of futuristic design. What do you think? Will you actually use any of these knives?
I'll use the steak knives.
You use the steak knives. Well, exactly. Steak knives are really nice. But there you go. Edge of Belgravia, that's the newest one.
Weird, like...
The fact that it's balanced? Or, because the balancing point should be about, right about there. A lot of knives claim to balance at that point, but when I've noticed when I've done that, most of these don't balance at that point. I think that's the only knife I've ever owned.
Weird though, because it balances at that point.
Yeah.
Right? But when you actually hold it, it feels like all the weight is up front. There's no weight back here.
Yeah.
But when you do that, it balances.
Yeah.
Like...
That's kind of more like the sword mentality, because a sword, for example, is supposed to be weighted at, you should go about an inch out of the pommel. Oh, sorry, out of the cross guard in order to get a full balance, to get it to be balanced. So that's been always the thing. But most of my knives, even the knives that cost as much as they do, don't. They always fall forward. Yeah, so there we go. We can get a good shot of that. There we go. Focus. There we go. Steak knives. There we go.